Hi, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda, and this is the Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast.
This podcast is all about taking action and creating that badass business abundance and life that you want.
Where we share stories, laughs, wins, and epic fails to show you the whole picture of the entrepreneurial journey.
It's not just unicorns and rainbows, people.
Jump on and follow us through this raw and witty roller coaster,
where we get down and dirty and go behind the scenes of life and entrepreneurship.
Get on it,
get over it,
and get after it.
Hi, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda. Welcome back to the Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast. It's just Lynn and I today. Very excited to be back, the dynamic duo, or Lynn and me today.
Same, but different, as they say in Thailand. I'm really excited. And actually, we need to come up with a different phrase. I think we are always excited about our topics because we just love what we do. So I guess
the wrong with excited. Excited is a good word. It's not like we're,
I know, but we open up every podcast. We're either stoked, excited, and I have to expand our vocabulary.
Should we pull out a thesaurus before every? They go, okay,
I think so. Maybe we'll start using a new word. And this is a topic that I know I spoke about, and it's something that I actually help my clients do, definitely, and not just in the sales world, but we are talking about acting when it's hot, or looking for the opportunities and taking the actions, or seeing the opportunities or foreseeing the opportunities and taking that action. So acting while it's hot. And we'll definitely stick in a sales context, but this is true for a lot of different aspects of just life and business.
Absolutely. I feel like whenever I think about striking when it's hot, I think about all the missed opportunities I had in the stock market. There were so many times that I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know if Bitcoin's going to be a thing. I don't know. And then you look back, you're like, I could have been a gajillionaire in a week. So if you take nothing from this, and we haven't even done the podcast yet, but if you take nothing from it, please take away that we understand that when you're striking when the iron's hot, there is inherently a bit of risk there because you are jumping into something without doing research. You're not sitting down and really going through and running the numbers and doing a test and then an A/B test. You're not doing any of that. So there is a bit of inherent risk in it. But if you do it the right way, it can pay off big, huge. You just got to kind of let go of that control freak a little bit. And me telling you to let go of this control freak, that's big because that doesn't come out of my mouth very often.
No, it's true. And we have it on here, the Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast recorded. I agree. And two things. One, I have an example of something I just heard, but also the world is moving so rapidly, things are only speeding up, and with technology evolving so quickly, and with just the accessibility happening, closing the world more and more and more, things are happening at the speed of light. And yes, there are all these trends and different things, and that might be a different podcast, so how to differentiate what you do act on. We're not saying act on everything while it's fast. However, if you see an opportunity and you can fill that niche, or you have the desire and the resources to be able to, maybe you might not be the expert, which I have a whole thing with that word anyway, but with that being said, actually putting forth, and yes, I'd be a cajillionaire as well because I had opportunity to invest in Yahoo way back in the day. That is showing my age just a little bit, but geez,
I could have invested in Apple in the beginning years. What was I mean, granted, I was a little young but still it was affordable. Yes. And I was in stock market club, and I'm like, I could maybe do Apple, and I don't know. Are this computer thing's going to take off? Oh, it killed me.
Absolutely. Well, the crazy thing is I was actually for those of you who don't know, in my sales background, I worked for a company called AirTouch Patient, which then became Verizon, but essentially we had outside sales reps. I was an appointment setter, and then I was actually a phone salesperson, and didn't go out to the clients, but we sent people out there. But we sold two-way pagers Blackberries, but then the iPhone was coming out and like becoming popularized. And I can remember like this buzz around it. And oh man, the opportunities missed. Let me actually give you a quick story, real quick, an example that I just heard on one of my favorite news channels, Instagram. You know, got to stay up on things. But there's an example of this, and Amanda and I got to talking. This is why we're actually one of the reasons why we're having this topic on our podcast this week. But a woman was talking about Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds, an actor, most people know who he is, and he didn't make his millions or billions because of acting. He actually did it because he's a smart businessman and thinks in a very different way. So he bought a marketing company, and he does this thing called fastvertising. And essentially what he does is he's bought all these other companies, like a liquor company. He bought
gin.
Yeah. He bought, is it? I've never tried it. I'm not a gym person though. He bought a soccer team. He bought like all these different types of companies. And essentially he turns around, he blows them up and then turns around and sells them. I think he had a phone company, a cell phone like company. Yeah. However, this is the example. So he years back, there was this whole buzz around Peloton and how this woman's husband bought her a Peloton bike. And he essentially went to his team and said, you have 48 hours that we want to take that concept, create ads building for our gin, create ads building upon that storyline and have it out in the market within 48 hours. So he takes the attention that something's getting and couples it with fast execution and implementation and puts it out there. And it skyrocketed his numbers. And I think that this is really important in this particular podcast, like study exactly what he does. Like if you're not taking our word for it, look at what Ryan Reynolds does and how he's made billions of dollars based on this concept. It is the what's hot, right? Within like how he could spin it in his own way. So he didn't go and buy a like company of Peloton. No, he had this company that was gin, which if you think about it, is kind of the opposite of like working out and taking care of your body. Yeah, exactly. And then like just rode the wagon off of that, but it was that speed of implementation, that fast execution. And I think a lot of times like we freeze and I am so a reflective person, but I can like there are so many missed opportunities, even though I teach clients this and a lot of non-missed opportunities. I don't want you to think like I've had this whole, and with Amanda too, we haven't had this whole life of missed opportunities. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. However, looking at the opportunity in front of you and seizing that and figuring out what is that next step and what that comes to or equates in sales is a lot of times we have people who are ready to buy, but we don't send that email for like 24 hours, or we don't even ask for the sale, even though they're ready to like purchase right there. We don't nurture something the way that we should. We let that dialogue, that energy kind of die out, which in turn makes it harder for us to convert that into a sale and or get them to purchase at a bigger price point as well, because they've kind of talked themselves out. And if you've done the work properly, like they're not remorse buying, they're not like, or being forced by, if you act while it's hot, they're utilizing that energy, that excitement. I mean, all of us at one time have done something, we've second guessed it, even though we know it's the best thing for us, but we might be like, oh, I could have spent the money differently here. I could have, because we get into our heads, right? And so we have a lot of missed opportunity and we're not acting while it's hot. We're allowing those sales to slip through when we could have more.
Yes. And I want to add on to that. And it's sort of a side tangent, but things have changed since I first started doing business. So that was a while ago. So when I first started doing business, social media wasn't really a thing, to date myself. It wasn't really a thing yet. And I remember having this discussion with a client who had missed on a customer service inquiry, which could have led to a larger sale. And they were like, well, we just weren't, they didn't call during our business hours. And why should we keep up? And yet you want to set boundaries. I'm not saying you don't want to have boundaries in your business. However, it was far enough into the social media age that responding in less than 24 hours was a red flag for that client and wanting to get information. And because of the nature of social media and how they had reached out on social media and they kind of expected to get a response, it was that missed action. And if they had just sort of set up a system in place or hired somebody else that could have received that income, and that customer service inquiry could have been taken care of in that less than 24 hours place. Because I think now more than ever, people expect to hear back from you faster. I mean, everybody expects to hear back instantaneously. And it's so much so that there are, I forget the exact statistic, and I'm sure we've actually even put it on our own Facebook page or our Instagram page.
I think we did, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like how much business goes to the person who acts the fastest, the person who is the first one to respond to them, particularly if they're sussing out different people within the same field. They're going to get back to that. The first person to get back to them is the one they're going to go with, regardless of anything else that's going on. So a lot of that fast action is just expected now. And I want to also point out, Ryan Reynolds is a billionaire. And he has millions of dollars at his disposal at any given point to enact this fast advertising, way of living and way of doing business. And yes, if we all had extra millions of dollars to buy a marketing company and we could force them to meet our 48-hour deadlines, that'd be amazing. But that doesn't mean you can't do it on a zero budget. It doesn't mean you can't have that same mindset and that same drive and that same push, even if you don't have any of that expendable income. And I think that's important to note, because Ryan Reynolds is Ryan Reynolds. I mean, he and his beautiful unicorn wife, like they could go off into the sunset. That's
They're
great.
Both just gorgeous.
They have billions of dollars. Great. They're beautiful. They're beautiful people. They're just disgusting. God favorites. It's fine. Hashtag God favorites. The point is that it's not just that they have the money, it's that they're putting this implementation in, and they have the idea and they have that passion, they have that drive, and yes, they have the resources, but it doesn't mean you can't do it just because you may not have that kind of financial resource.
Oh, no, absolutely. So and it's funny, when I was listening to your story, I can remember to stay on that sidebar for a second before I get back on, is when I had the security company. And when I first opened up the security company, I didn't have security. When we're putting in alarm systems, people are calling you all different times. And because I lived in Hawaii too, we had a lot of people who didn't live on island. So they'd be calling at mainland. They would call during mainland hours. And I would have a lot of missed calls, and when I'd call them back, they'd be like, "Oh, we already went with somebody else," etc. And I realized I was missing these opportunities. I ended up getting an answering service who would answer 24/7, and I saw an exponential movement in my closing of those that were calling in, right? So that would be the reactive sales, those that were reaching out to us. But it is incredible. And so getting back onto the sales process, because I think you get the idea of okay, there are lots of opportunities that we could miss. So this is what I would suggest to start with, is analyze where there are missed opportunities in your sales process, where you're bottlenecking or not clicking as quickly as what you should. Because yes, just like Amanda said, you might not have those marketing company at your disposal with millions of dollars to throw into things, but this is a simple thing. If it is something you're in a business where things need to be answered immediately, set up auto replies, set up an alert on your phone that will go off, hire somebody to manage that in your off hours. Or if you have employees, we use it, but again, it's security, but lots of companies do this. Somebody will always have that on their after hours obligations, right, to make sure that they're answering that, depending on the type of business. But find those things where you are missing opportunities and see if you can automate it, if you can fill in the gap, if you can have something that will decrease that time of connection. But also it's looking for the opportunities. And I think that creates the ball rolling in the positive way too. When we're looking for opportunities, we open up ourselves to receive opportunity as well. So just really stop and analyze the missed opportunities in your sales process, and then outwardly look for the opportunities in which you can make more sales.
Yes. And I'll give you an example of looking for like outwardly looking for some opportunities. And this is going to seem super shady, so I'm not going to pretend it wasn't. And a lot of people thought I was shady when I did it. I'm just going to throw it out there. It looked shady for a lot of people, but it was pure intentions, pure intentions. So when I owned one of my fitness companies in Hawaii, there was another facility that had to close their doors. So they went bankrupt. I could get all into like, I saw that coming. They went bankrupt for a multitude of reasons. And they had all these clients who had class packages that they weren't going to honor. So they had all these clients who were just sitting on, they just paid their membership fees and they were all going to lose their money. They had all these instructors who now were out of jobs and front desk people who were all out of jobs. So I swooped in, let's call it, and I employed them all. So I basically swooped in and was like, hey, I don't want to, I'm not stepping on toes. I don't want it to leave any bad feelings. However, I know you're all out of jobs. I have openings if you want spaces to teach here, here, and here. This is where I'm taking people. If anybody wants to apply, I am hiring people. And I reached out to the owner who was closing doors and said, hey, I don't want to, again, I don't want to step on your numbers. I'm not trying to like infiltrate your system. However, if you're trying to make it right for the clients who aren't going to get their money back because you're going bankrupt, I would be willing to take over their memberships at the same price that they were charging, even though they were charging way less than I did, which is why they weren't going to make it. So they were charging a ridiculously low rate, and I was willing to take over their memberships at their prices so that their people wouldn't miss anything, just to finish out their membership that they had already paid, like their monthly membership. So nobody would sign on for more than 3 months, but still, like, I was willing with the instructors that they already had, because I hired all their people. And so they were going to have the exact same class at roughly the same time with the same instructor for the same rate. And I just took over all those people as like a safe space. And it wasn't like I was trying, I mean, yes, I was trying to get them as clients. I'm not going to lie and say that I didn't have that in my head, but I saw it as an opportunity to reach out to the community and to make something right that was not right in my industry. And not everybody stayed at our studio, instructors and students, but we did get a huge influx of new clients, and it re-energized the space. Even for the ones who didn't stay on, it at least left the community feeling like something was made right.
Yeah.
And it was an opportunity that it was a very quick, like as soon as I heard out that they were closing, I reached out to everybody within 24 hours, maybe even like 15 hours. It was like, they're closing, swoop.
I want to like correct you. Like, that's not shady at all. It would be more shady if they weren't closing and you went in and just kind of like bamboozled everybody and poached everybody. Like, to me, and even that's just like business, like it's with the intention behind it. And if you are having shady, but that's not shady at all. That is opportunity. And that is actually, and what I will say about that, being that we lived in Hawaii, and that's where Amanda and I met, and that's just where it happened at, that is actually really important, especially in communities such as in the Hawaii spirit and the Aloha spirit, because we really are so connected. We know, like, everybody. And so being able to allow that business owner who didn't succeed in his or her business dreams, be able to allow him to, as we say in Hawaii, save face, or in Thailand, but essentially like make right. That is not shady at all. And I'm glad you use that story, because I think a lot of times we prevent ourselves from seizing up on opportunity because we're afraid of like what it might be perceived as, that we're pouncing, that we're doing this. Absolutely not. There is a difference. And as long as you're acting in integrity, and like, if you're actually asking yourself that if this is shady or if this isn't, like having a little bit of like opportunity, remorse or whatever, like you're answering your own question. You're doing it from the right place because you actually have a conscience. So, however, there's all these missed opportunities. I can remember actually one of my good friends, and he was a client for a while, financial advisor in Hawaii, and dear friend. He's actually my financial advisor. And this isn't just him, but I can remember having a conversation with him and other clients, and non-clients. They have the best of, right? The best of West Hawaii, the best of this. And I know they had it in there, and I'm sure they have in other regions of the world. And my financial advisor won it. And he's like, oh, this is great. I was like, yeah. And it's an opportunity. We're going to create a postcard. You're going to send it out to all of your current clients to say, hey, thank you for believing in me. This is what I just won. And hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. Here's a call. Past clients, in like not even clients and your current clients, to like, this is an opportunity for you to put yourself in front of people. And he got a ton of business from it. Like there are so many opportunities that present. Look at the whole chat GTP thing that's happening. Like all these people are jumping on the bandwagon and like getting in and building the knowledge. I was just having a conversation with a girlfriend last night about this, and she's like, and she's super smart. And actually, I'm going to have a call with her and like a meeting with her to learn more about chat GTP. I always say that wrong, but whatever it is. And she's like, yeah, because she wants to start her own consulting. She's like, but I don't know that much. We're like, you know more than us. Like, take this opportunity. Like right now, you have the movement of everybody wanting, like, AI is fairly new, kind of like what we were talking about with Bitcoin earlier too. Like when Bitcoin was fairly new, my ex got on it, and like it's just like, it's really, my son even like got into it, and like it's really important because now they have more knowledge than all these people than me that's getting out into it. It's such late in the game. Same with chat GTP is like, she has an opportunity to be able to like school these people, and she's just one step ahead. So it's even a perceived opportunity. Like when there's just the idea of the opportunity as well, you can position yourself to be able to capitalize on that with the right intentions. We're definitely saying with the right intentions to move your business forward, to move your sales opportunities forward. It's just most of us do not take it. We don't take the ones that are actually given to us, right? So the incoming, but that's why we need to look at our process to make sure we're not letting those fall through, right? The ones that we're being reactive sales to. And then once you have that down, look at the proactive opportunities. There's always opportunity. I love opportunity. I love people that take opportunity, even those ones that might be a little bit shady, like don't hate the player, hate the game type of thing. Like you saw the opportunity and you took it. And I can appreciate that, even though I don't agree with what you did. Like, I love that, like that hunger, that step, like that ingenuity, or that like trusting that that step is going to be there, and just kind of, and that's to me the soul of entrepreneurship too, like taking that leap, like making that forward step.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that's one of the most integral parts of being an entrepreneur is seizing that opportunity. I mean, it's seeing where those opportunities lie and then capitalizing on it and just latching on and knowing when to let go and knowing when to go full force and to take the risk. And there is some trial and error there. I have made some terrible choices, let's call them. I have taken some opportunities that did not turn out the way I intended them to. And that is just the nature of everything. You can't go into the idea of building and working in your opportunities and seizing these moments with the idea that you're going to get it every time, because that's unrealistic. No matter what you're looking at, it's an unrealistic expectation to think that you're always going to succeed in that. It's never going to happen. It's like, let go of that perfectionism. But being open to the opportunities is half the battle. If you never let yourself see, number one, where you're not doing well, and that one I had to work on for a long, long time, is admitting that I didn't always have it together. Don't you smile at me. You know what I'm talking about. Admitting that I don't
totally
have it together. Yeah, that I don't always have it together. A lot of that admittance it's like the first step to recovery. Like admitting that you have a problem is the first step to recovery. It's the same thing. So knowing that I didn't have it all together was something that allowed me to see that vision and to strike when it's hot, because you sense it. I mean, a lot of it's just internal, like, oh my God, that seems like that'd be a great idea. And there are plenty of times that I've let it go by and not seize the moment and then regretted it horribly. But there are plenty of times in the opposite direction where I did seize the moment and I feel like that made all the difference. So it is scary, particularly when there isn't any. And for all my examiners out there, it's probably extra scary for you because you can't do any research on it a lot of times. I mean, not saying you can't ever do research on it. However, a lot of times when you're trying to strike while it's hot, when it's hot, you don't have time to research.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. I can't believe it's time already. So we need to like wrap up like our high level points. I'll go first. Is like, first in your sales and in general, like look at your sales process, look at the reactive missed opportunities, right? And so where can you fill in the gaps, automate, systemize, bridge things together. Once you dig into your sales process, this should be, like we said, like I ended up hiring an answering service. Like Amanda's client hopefully created some kind of like auto response or having somebody answer those. So look at the reactive missed opportunities first, because that's like what's happening to you already, and you need to work on that, because otherwise you're going to miss more or become overwhelmed later. So reactive, and then the active and the proactive. So active would be like having the conversations and making sure that you're looking for the opportunities that are happening around you. For example, like my client friend, the financial advisor, to me, that was an active action step for opportunity, right? Sending out those postcards. The proactive would be creating your own opportunities, which is a little bit of what Amanda was just talking about as well. So like, what can you create as an opportunity, or like be even more like pioneering and forward thinking with that? And so that would be the 3 levels, but I'd start at the reactive, then the active, and the proactive level for opportunities. And here's the thing, like, take that step, take that leap. You're going to land somewhere. And at worst, you learn, you rinse, repeat, or you don't do it again, but you rinse, repeat, and then you move forward again. And the second thing I'll talk about, or I'll say, and then I'll pass over to Amanda, is there's never a perfect time. There's never going to be enough information. Like, the perfect time is now, especially with the opportunities that we're talking about. Like, don't wait when you have something present itself, because you could lose out.
Absolutely. And absolutely 100%. There's never going to be a perfect time. And there's this saying going around, like, do one thing a day that scares you. And if you're not a little bit afraid of your goals, then like, are they the right goals? And I don't necessarily think that's true in all ways, because I don't feel fear in the normal way that I think a lot of people do. I'm not saying that I'm impervious to it, that I don't feel it the same way that a lot of people do, but I will make a small change to that. But if what you want to do, if what you're aiming for in your business doesn't scare someone, it doesn't necessarily have to be you, but if someone in your immediate world isn't a little bit afraid for you, you might not be pushing yourself enough. And I'm not saying like go down a horrible rabbit hole and terrible decisions. That's not what I'm saying. But using your resources to the best of your ability. As Lynn said, the worst that can happen is that you're going to fail, and then you're going to learn something really, really well, really, really fast, and really, really thoroughly. The best things I've done in my life have come from horrible, horrible failures. And we won't that's a whole other podcast. We're going to go over the failures of my life. Whole other podcast.
One of these days.
I mean, it's the best, truest teacher I've ever had. I cannot emphasize that. So if that's your big worry, is what's going to happen if you fail, just do it 100 times more. Like, go further, faster, longer into that dream and into that opportunity, because the worst that can happen is failure. I mean, I guess jail time. I guess it depends on what your endeavor.
We're not talking about illegal activities, people. Hopefully.
Hopefully. This just so you know, this podcast does not serve as legal advice in any way, shape, or form. So my lawyer is happy I said that. That's all I got to say.
Absolutely. We love this. And if this is something that you're struggling with, Amanda and I, like, this is something that we are good at. We understand. And even though I don't care for this term, we are experts in, because we have done this time and time again. We help our clients do this. We look for opportunities for them, and then we help them create the plan and move that action forward. If it is not us and you're afraid, find somebody that can help you and be that person who's going to help support you in that, because it can be scary, but here's how you move your business forward. Here's how you actually experience and grow. And we're really excited about hearing all about non-missed opportunities because you listen to this podcast and put in that work. So
get after it.
All right, everyone, it's not enough to just listen.
Now you've got to put it into action.
We are so excited to see what you do next.
If you enjoyed our show, please leave us a review on iTunes.
And to find out more about what we're doing, visit us at thepursuitofbadasserie.com.